the algo wheel. What is the algo wheel? Is anyone here comfortable enough to talk about the algo wheel in front of an educated audience for 5 minutes? 5 minutes! Let's go through that. The algo wheel is perhaps the greatest misnomer on Wall Street right now because it is not necessarily a wheel of algorithms. It is rather developing into a slang term for automation. It may involve the algorithms on the wheel and the broker assessment features, which is one usage of it, but it may not. There are things such as PT wheels and cash desk wheels and things that have nothing to do with algorithms whatsoever, and they're being called wheels. The wheel is developing as the future of Wall Street. It is a movement, if you will. It is the evolution of automation. It is the automation of utility on a trading desk. Whatever that means to you. That could be how you parse baskets. It could be how you pre-trade. It could be how you actually allocate flow to brokers or manage your commissions or do a million other things. You can put all of that into a process, an automation shortcut, a way for you to manage what you do. Algo wheel represents that. And so once you understand that, you recognize it is not necessarily a proprietary technology where one person owns and controls wheel. Rather, it is more of a movement or an evolution, or how it gets done is more important than what is getting done, meaning that the provider of the wheel and what they do are only as good as much as they deliver on what they purport that the thing will be. I'm trying to say that algo wheel is not based on a technology per se, although it does utilize it. Rather, it is based on the implementation and delivery through whatever provider you go through. Now, some providers of wheel are good and some are not. It's no different from algorithms in that respect. And so once you understand that, you recognize that the execution is more important than the idea. How they do what they do matters more than what they say. And so the lack of clarity around this product, it's not got to do with functionality. Right now we're talking functionality, and all anyone thinks about is the functionality of the wheel. Lack of clarity around this product is rooted in terminology, not functionality. The terminology, the label, people are getting hung up on what it is and what it's being called. So I'll tell you this, going forward, this thing has the potential to become the gateway to the street, right? Before we address that though, I want to mention the thing that's on everyone's mind, including yours right now. I'll address the obvious. The wheel is not going to replace you. It's not. The wheel will not replace you any more than algorithms replaced you or any more than smart routers replaced the telephone. It's just about the next step in efficiency. Capitalism is the drive to efficiency, and algo wheel is part of that as an automation tool. So once you understand that it's not replacing you, you recognize that it's a tool that you can use and deploy in your favor to help you. And so, as I mentioned, in that regard, the technology of automation becomes the gateway to the street. The algo wheel, if done properly, can become the pipe through which all Wall Street flow goes. And what I'm trying to clarify is this. Right now, there are multiple providers of wheel. And there may not always be. It could develop the way algorithms did, where there's multiple providers of the algorithms, and some are good and some are not. They all look the same, just as much as a gas car looks like an electric car until you open the hood. But algo wheel may not develop that way because it's easier to process and package a technology than it is to make for multiple characteristics within it. In other words, let's go back in history. I'll give you an example. Back in the day of search engines, in early search, there were multiple providers of search. There was AltaVista, and there was Ask Jeeves, and there was InfoSeek, and there was a gazillion others, Yahoo, you know them all. But they were all displaced by one mega dominant one. One out of California came, showed him a better mousetrap, became the owner and controller of search, and still exists as such today. Algo wheel could potentially go down that road. Now you'll say, no, that's ridiculous. Imagine if one dominant EMS controlled all of Wall Street's front ends. Wouldn't happen, right? Didn't it happen in market data with regards to Bloomberg? Who's Bloomberg's real competitor? Yeah, there are other market data providers out there, but I mean, who's their real competitor? You get my point. It's not necessarily going to be multiple algo wheel providers. Right now it is. It'll likely stay that way, but it could conceivably become one person, or one shop rather, that makes an easy user interface with little friction and all the bells and whistles and just flipping the switches. That could develop. The point I'm trying to make here is this. You need to be thinking. You need to be looking at big picture. The problem I have with Wall Street today is that everything regarding trading, all the content around trading specifically, is micro. It's micro. It's got to do with the things about the rules and the regulations and the pilot programs. It's not necessarily the big canvas on which everything works. Once you understand the context, you think of like a canvas where the algo wheel fits in here and the closing auctions in Europe could do this and then the US do this and they got to fit somewhere in the middle. Once you understand context, think of the canvas as a Bob Ross painting, and you put the tree here and you put the bush down here, and that's where algo wheel can fit into the bigger picture. But you need to be thinking of it as the bigger picture. And to sometimes see the sky, you got to take your eyes off the dirt. So think of the big picture and how the algo wheel fits in, because guess what? There is a place for it in your life at some point somewhere. And you may not call it wheel. It might not actually be an algo wheel. But there is an automation process and procedure that you are either putting in place or will put in place that's going to make your life easier and your desk more efficient. This is about the future, evolution, automation, and algo wheel is a component of that. Understand that, get your hands around it, and see how maybe it can serve you. Because in the end, whether you like it or not, this is how it's going, and automation can help you. The algo wheel is part of that. Give it some thought.